Okay, so I went ahead and took the battery out of here because I wanted to get started and I wanted you to have a clear view of where we're going to go. We're going to go all the way back here to the firewall, and you can see this wiring harness. You want to make sure you don't go into it. We're going to go just above and into that rubber. Make a nice hole because that's where we're going into the cabin compartment for the wiring. There we go. Okay, that went through easy peasy. That's nice. I'm just going to put a little bit of lubricant on there. Okay. I'm just going to go a couple times, just get it in there. All right, let's grab our wiring. So now that you went ahead and made that hole, it's time to push this through, okay? This is the black, white, and red wiring that's going to go inside the vehicle. When you get all the way through, you're going to want to keep this portion of the white wiring, which has the relay, on the outside of the firewall. I'm going to take this metal rod. I'm just going to come right through that firewall hole that we made. And I've got my wiring, some electrical tape. I'm just going to get this on here, see if I can get it on. Hopefully that's decent enough. Okay, let's get that close and go in there, and I'm going to pull it through. Okay. Nice. That looks perfect right there. Let's get this tape off of here. Sweet. Just make sure all your wires are pressed into that connector just in case they happen to come loose. Perfect. So now we're just going to take that red and white, and of course if you wanted to put them in some loom or anything like that, that would probably be handy. You can also use several wire ties or even some tape. Just bring it right around the back side here. That looks pretty great. Now that we brought that around the back side of the box, we're going to take the relay and the fuse, and we're going to go ahead and put them right next to each other, and we're going to either tape them or you can use a wire tie. Once we do that, we're going to take either a push pin or a wire tie and go right through here. And that's what's going to mount it, and this is going to be nice and high up. If you wanted to, you could of course wrap this up because there is a fuse in there, and it would be nice to have it waterproof. So I'll wrap it. Let's take that little bundle that we made. Go ahead and use one of these little push clips. Oops. Maybe. This on there. Right through here. That makes sure that your fuse and your relay are up nice and high. Okay, so we have both of our black grounds, right? We're going to find a ground right on the body, and that's where I'm going to connect it. I'm just going to loosen this up. You don't need to go all the way off. Now it's important to remember when you put these on, they need to be closest to the nut. You're going to have the body, the ground wire, which is the main ground wire for the vehicle, okay, one of them at least, and then these, and then the nut. Grab these. I'll slide them both on there. You can do one at a time or both at the same time, as long as you know they're both under. Go ahead and snug that up. Let's put one of these little wire ties on here, and I'm just going to kind of snug it up a little bit, but I want to make it so I can still pull those wires and get them to exactly where I want them. Go ahead and get your battery back in here. Let's reconnect the battery. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is get inside of our fuse box. And we're going to find a fuse on this particular vehicle. It's called M7 and it's a 20 amp. It's located right here. It's the one that's kind of off center or off kilter from all the rest. That's the one we're going to use. This is going to have power only in accessory mode. So we have this wire that's going to go to the battery. We'll set that aside. We have the wire that does not have a connector. We're going to put it right to this fuse jumper, and I'll show you how. Make sure you use a connector that has heat shrink on it. Crimp it down. Check your connection. Do the same to the other side. nice and tight. Now we're going to make sure we shrink this down so no moisture can get inside. Just keep that heat moving around. So now, making sure that the key power is off, we're just going to grab that fuse, check it, make sure it's still in working condition. We're going to grab our jumper here, and I'm going to go right up along this top area and put it right in there. If it doesn't want to squeeze in, you can just use your pliers. That feels great. Set it exactly where you got it from. It's going to be off kilter from all the rest. And then you can just take that wire, go along this way, and then right out through here. So now that we've got this in here, you can see the way that the wire's going to want to ride. It's going to come right along the top of this. Well, that's great and everything. The only problem is it's got a seal that comes along the top of the cover. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to heat it up, and I'm going to make a teeny little hole just big enough for this wire to barely squeeze through. Once it does, you can use a little bit of liquid electrical tape or whatever you might have, maybe some gasket maker. Put it right over it to keep the moisture out. That's going to be perfect. A little gasket maker, close it up. So now use whatever you've got for a brush and clean up the metal right along here, because this is right where this last red wire is going to go. Like that, the connector. Put it just like this, and then we're going to put our nut on there. Probably run this right along here, see if I can keep it tight, and then I'm going to wire tie it so it stays nice and tight along the battery. Okay, now that we have this secured, let's grab the rest of our wiring. This is the part that's going to be going down to the fog lamp assemblies. I'm going to go on the outside of this rail right here, right along there. Bring it right down to the ground, and then we'll get underneath the vehicle. There it is. Awesome. Okay, so right back here is where one of our fog lamps is going to be. So let's just grab our tool here and see if we can separate this. This opens up nice and wide. So now when you look at the backside here, you're going to see a tab here. There's one, where is it? Right there. And then there should be one right here. To get those out, you just take a small pocket screwdriver. You're going to bend away the tab and then lift up right here and push that right out. That came out nice and easy. Okay, so let's start peeling back that sticker a little bit. Now you've got these little hooky doos. They're going to line up right here. You're just going to push this right in. Grab that, remove it. So now you need to find the side that matches up with the bumper of your vehicle. You're going to notice you have your little hooky doo there, there, and there. Line those up with their corresponding holes, and then press it in. Okay, so now I'm just going to take one of these little screws. I'm going to come right in through here. And you can get these at pretty much any hardware store. Nice. Now let's do the same for the other side. So now we're just going to take our connector here. Squeeze that together as tight as it'll go. Give it a nice tug. Grab this connector, connect it in right up here. Give it a tug. Nice. At this point, you're going to start securing everything, and we're going to come right along this way. And you'll notice in the center, I brought down a little piece of this loom. That's where some more wiring goes. I'm actually going to take a couple wire ties, and I'm going to go right down along the line and just wire tie it right to that loom coming along. Then we'll come to here, hooking on our other connector into the bulb, make sure everything's secured, and we'll move along. This connected on here. Give it a little quickie. Give it a tug. Grab this. And then of course just make sure the excess is secured. trim off any excess on any of your wire ties. Before we get out from underneath here, it's important to remember about your adjustment. If you were to take a screwdriver, Phillips head, and turn this clockwise, it's going to bring your fog lamp beam up. And if you go counterclockwise, it'll bring it down. That's how you're going to align it once you have your headlight beams on as well. Let's make sure we get this in here. So now what I want to do is I want to take my key, and as long as it's in the on position, this should work. And now that we're in the on position, you're going to see that the switch lights up red. Push the button, lights up green. That means it's go time up front. Let's take a peek. What I'd like to do is put the switch right about here. And the reason for that is because there's a nice smooth surface. I'm just going to clean it down so it has something to stick to. I'm going to run the cable down along through here. And then, obviously I don't want this hanging down. So to keep it nice and pretty, I'm going to roll it up and I'm going to make sure it's secured underneath this plastic. Okay, so now let's just tidy up our mess. This is going to be a general tutorial on how to aim your brand new TRQ headlamp assemblies. Okay, so looking at your brand new TRQ headlamp assembly, you're going to see where your low beam is, and you'll see a little dot right in the center. And that is the access point, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to mark that with an erasable marker, just so it's easier to see. Next, what we need to do is measure from the level ground up to this point and take note of that measurement. Now we're just going to pull the car up to our wall. On our vehicle, we remember that the measurement was 28 inches for our access point. Your vehicle may be different, but that's where I'm going to put this tape, just above that 28 inches. We'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so let's just back the vehicle up, straight back 25 feet from the wall. And now that we moved our vehicle 25 feet back from the wall, we're going to start with our measurement here. That's where the headlamp center is. We're going to go down 4 inches on the driver's side. On the passenger side, we have our line here. What we need to do is go down 2 inches. To adjust the driver's side, we're going to cover our passenger side headlamp. If you look at the back side of your headlamp assembly, you're going to see something that looks like this. This is the adjustment. Some of these headlight assemblies have 1, 2, or even more of them, but you should at least have one. This is how we're going to adjust the headlight beam. Now we're going to lower the top part of the beam down to just below this line. When you turn the adjustment to the right, it brings the beam up, and if you turn it to the left, it'll bring the headlight beam down. And this is this way on most vehicles. Let's continue on to doing the passenger side. All right, we properly aligned our TRQ headlamp assemblies. Okay, and on the quality TRQ headlamps for a pickup truck, the procedure is going to be the same. You're going to find your center dot, mark it, and then you'll measure from the level ground up to your dot. So once your headlamps are properly adjusted, it'll be time to adjust your fog lamps. You'll notice on the driver's side, the focal point is all the way at the bottom right now. I would like to bring it up so it meets up with approximately the bottom of the focal point of the headlight. Some fog lamps have an adjuster, others don't. The ones that do have an adjuster, you would just turn the adjustment to the left or to the right to adjust the beam up and down to where it needs to be. Now with your TRQ headlamps and fog lamps properly aligned, you can drive down the road safely.